Hey friends, welcome back to another episode of WeedBudz Radio, and I'm your host, Rye. And today, joining me is some new buds that I'm excited to share with all of you that are working on some incredible projects and have already worked on some amazing projects. So you're going to love the conversation that we have today. And today, joining us, we have Chirag and Kevin from St. John's Brewers. And gentlemen, thank you so much for joining.
Good afternoon. Good to meet you. Good to be with you.
Yes, thanks for having us.
Absolutely. So first, I want to hear where you're located and how you two got connected.
Chirag, you want to take this one first this time?
Sure, yeah. Kevin and I have been friends since college. We went to school up in the University of Vermont back in the 90s. So we were friends from college, freshman year. We became roommates with a bunch of other guys in the dorm, and then we just drank good beer in Vermont at that time, and kept in touch after college. So we both graduated from the University of Vermont, and then went our separate ways. I worked as a scientist for NASA in the space program out in California for a couple of years, and Kevin was a physical therapist major, and he went down to Boston and worked in a hospital there as well. So we were both kind of on our career paths in the early 2000s, and kind of decided that we wanted to change in life. Kevin went down to the state to visit a friend of ours that we knew from college down in the Virgin Islands, and checked it out. And he came back, and I said I was interested in moving to the Caribbean. And we just thought, well, let's take a year off and go down to the Caribbean for a year, and then we'll get back into career, jobs in the future. And so we kind of took a leap on life at early 20s, and went down to the Caribbean with no plans, no plan to brew or anything, just to check it out, bartend, have a good time, and then maybe come back or travel a little more. So it's kind of how we got started. And
it's a beautiful place down here. We fell in love sight unseen, and so yeah, it was great. We got some jobs originally, just busing, and then hosting at some restaurants. Moved up to bartending, and everything was great. But we did realize that we missed beer that we were drinking up in the States. Down here, it was just all the light lagers, Caribbean lagers, mainstream domestic beers that were here. And, we really wanted some different fuller flavored beers. And so just ingenuity kind of struck us. And we bought homebrew kits online, and it was a bit more of a challenge back then. We're talking 2001, 2002. So the internet isn't what it is right now. So having to go to the local library with some dial-up for 30 minutes each, and do this online research. But we got them, and that was our start and our lead into craft beer as far as the brewing aspect. And that was how we got into beverage, the very early stages, and really caught the bug as far as brewing. The first batches, I think, were pretty typical of what you experience. That decent, not teetering on good. But then, we just wanted to really make some good beers. And so we really got into it, reading everything that we could, and just really caught that craft beer buzz. And then finally, it kind of got to the point where we were going to stay here and start a business within beer. We had a couple of good recipes that we had, or go back in the States and pursue our careers. And in particular, we were brewing with mangoes, that grew on St. John. And it was, we were trying it out. People enjoyed it, and so we're like, yeah, let's give this a go with this tropical mango beer. And that was our foray into St. John Brewers and the beer that started us off in this direction.
That sounds delicious, because my favorite beers and my favorite flower and smoke is anything a little bit citrusy, a little bit tangy. So that sounds absolutely incredible to me, and I can't wait to try that. So I'm curious, two brewmasters, if you will, where do you go from there? You establish this great business. What's next? What's on the horizon?
Yeah, so we've been brewing beer, like Kevin said, since the early 2000s, and we started a brewing company, and we brewed different styles of beer. We also introduced the soda line, so we've done, root beers and ginger beer flavors. This is all packaged products as well as draft, and sold throughout the markets and the bars and restaurants and throughout the islands. And so we've just, expanded our line over the years, and recently got into a hard seltzer that we make, we think, better than the ones that are out there. And it's called Love City, and it's available only in the Virgin Islands. So seltzer was sort of our foray into sort of a different style of beverage versus the traditional beers like the IPAs and the brown ales and all the unique pale ales that we could do. So we wanted to transition to a little bit more of the cannabis space where we could bring cannabis to beverages and the idea of, a good craft beer and a good craft cannabis beverage. And so the last 2 years, we've really been working on finding a great, water soluble ingredients to use in a flavored seltzer that we, our flavors that we come up with, and put the two together to make a, really quality product that's a entry into the hemp space and into the, the cannabis space. So
that is so fascinating, Kevin.
Yeah, I was just going to add that it has been great. All the research that we did with creating Love City, our hard seltzer, just really did blend in well into infusing in, Delta8, and we have just different flavor profiles that we have that we're super excited about. We're leading with our brand is Cool Out is our Delta8 infused seltzer, and we're leading with a citrus flavor. That it's the same thing with, I guess we can let you know how we do our research. Is that it's one thing if we like it, but do other people like it? So we spend a lot of time bench topping out our different flavors and then giving it out to our staff at first, and then going more into our larger audience and customers. And citrus is got a lot of great reviews, and it drinks just like a fresh, clean seltzer. Our Delta8 ingredient is wonderful. We really did a lot of vetting for suppliers for our Delta8, and it is just one of the cleanest ones out there. Tastes great over ice, straight out of the can. And we went in a little bit lighter with the Delta8 as far as 10 milligrams. I feel everyone either has had that experience or knows that someone had experience of, having edibles and having too much, because of that hour wait that you have to, that takes place, and having it be just too much, So we went with 10 milligrams. That still gets you a nice little heady buzz. But we also want this to be something that you can, drink more than one of. We're beer guys. We want you to be able to be social with these beverages, and be able to hang out, be in the mix at a party. Maybe alcohol is not for you, and this is just one of those really good alternatives that can help you relax, and you're fitting in with the party, or if you want to replace out that glass of wine at the end of a work day, or that beer, this is another great option. 0 calories. We're not sugar guys. We don't like sweeteners either. And so we've just developed a flavor profile that is clean, has a lot of robust flavor to it, but doesn't have a lot of those added features to it. So, our tagline is cool out, feel good. And there's just a lot of different aspects about this beverage that can help you feel good. And a lot of that is what it doesn't have in it, which are the sugar, carbs, all that stuff.
So as an individual that's often in those social environments that you were mentioning, I do not drink alcohol, but I love beer. And so I'll have a craft beer maybe 3 or 4 times a year, but really only one, because I don't really like the way that I feel. And so I've been waiting for that beautiful kind of craft beer that has more of the THC components to it than alcohol is. And obviously I know that with fermentation, you're going to get some alcohol, but is there a way to make a good beer with THC in it versus what we have right now, which seems to be a lot of juices and sodas and seltzers?
It can be done. It's a little more technical. I mean, you still do, you have to dealkalize your product because you can't have the two together, in sort of a consumer safety perspective. But, you could brew a beer, try to get a no alc or a low alc, down there, and then add in your ingredients. And then that's been done, particularly in out west. We've seen a couple brands do that. And I think that's part of where we're at with flavoring. We've been at this almost 20 years, where complexity of flavor versus simplicity of flavor. And not everyone's an IPA craft beer drinker, even though it is the most popular style of craft beer. We sell a lot of our IPAs, but that leaves out a big part of the segment of the population. We like seltzers, and you can see the craze that's out there just because it appeals to a lot more of an audience that just is not overwhelmed with flavor and taste. However, we do encourage that we want to have taste in our beverages. So that's our our benefit, our positive experience is having good flavoring and good formulation of your product. And so we think seltzer is just a great way. But yeah, it's been done for sure. I mean, on the beer side of things.
And this is a good intro for us. This is we feel the tip of the iceberg sort of thing with Delta8 and getting into beverage. So this is our starting point. It was, as Chirag mentioned, seltzer was just fresh with us as far as one of the latest projects that we were working on. And so it did just fit nicely into what we were going to do next, which was experimenting with, cannabis water-soluble technology.
That leads me, you had mentioned something about, Chirag, the kind of craze around seltzer right now. And I'm curious, is that a fad? Is that a trend that's here to stay? If it is here to stay, what's after that?
There's a lot of opinions on that at the moment. I mean, we've seen a pretty big, skyrocketing with the big national brands. From a small brewery perspective on an island in the Caribbean, we've done great with our sales to date, and it's growing. So I personally don't think seltzers are going away by any stretch. Craft breweries, particularly, and breweries in general, got into the business because it was a way to sort of make a light kind of alcoholic seltzer beverage versus a traditional beer under the regulations of breweries versus liquor distilleries. So there was a bit of that movement going on. But in terms of a fad, it's possible just because the big macro bands tend to overdo it and it kind of turns people off. But seltzers have been around forever. I think it's been over 100 years of seltzer. It's clean, it's refreshing. It's not for everyone. Some people want sweeteners and things like that. But if you have a good clean seltzer, it's very drinkable. So I think it'll be around for a while.
And I'm curious because I'm realizing we haven't really necessarily explained it to those that have tuned in, but if you don't mind kind of breaking down what the difference is between Delta8 and Delta9, I think that's something that we really haven't talked about on the show.
So Delta9 would be the THC derived from marijuana. And it's just the kind of that technical chemical structure that is where a carbon is double bonded. So it's on the 9th carbon in the molecule. Delta8 derived from hemp, which the federal government deemed legal in the 2018 Farm Bill. And that is, again, just where that double bond is. So it's that chemical difference. And then it's where they're derived from within the cannabis family, one being from marijuana, Delta9, the other being from hemp-based Delta8.
Interesting. And so I guess a question that I've been asked a lot, I don't have an answer to, is Delta8 naturally derived, or is that something that's synthetically formed?
So Delta8 is present in cannabis and in hemp in smaller dose or percentages. It can be derived from the hemp and then basically converted up into Delta9. It's not synthesized per se from basic chemistry or anything. It's derived from the CBD and the cannabinoids of the hemp and the hemp
Sure.
extract.
And so from when I kind of think of CBD extraction or THC extraction, if you're looking at extracting something like Delta8, are you able to get the same kind of return per plant, per hemp stock that you would THC from a marijuana stock? Is it a smaller number? Do you have to kind of use more quantity to get there? I'm just, it's not something that we've ever really explored.
That's a pretty technical question, I feel, and I'm sure it's different based on farms and strains and the style of what's grown. We rely on the expertise of the companies that we're getting our product from. We
Sure.
feel that our expertise comes in the beverage side, using that water soluble technology and just getting the best beverage that we can for the hemp that we're using. But I'm not sure about that kind of pound for pound. What is the yield or how that part actually works out?
Now, if I, say for myself, more of an experienced Delta9 consumer, and let's say beside me, I have an inexperienced Delta9 consumer, could you kind of explain to us the effects of Delta8 on the mind and body?
Yeah, as cannabis users, we've experienced Delta8, Delta9, and other cannabinoids, CBD, of course. And so Delta8 is referred to as sort of a milder buzz. That doesn't say that it's not, you don't feel anything or it's light, but it tends to be milder than a cannabis Delta9 high. However, it is a cumulative effect, a compounding effect. If you have a couple more Delta8s, you'll start to feel a very strong buzz. So it's not as if it stays mellow the whole time. It's just sort of the onset and the feeling isn't as high. And I also, there's the lesser, if any, anxiety and some of that kind of panicky that comes with it. Increased heart. You don't get some of that, or at least we haven't heard of that. Very calming effects in many ways, but not overwhelming in any stretch.
And everybody's a little bit different too with how they get affected. So I think that's just where there is some play to where you start to know your dose and then get comfortable with it as well, which is very important.
Absolutely.
And that's why we like the beverage. The beverage space compared to edibles and smokables is that you can kind of pace yourself as you're drinking it, and especially in a 12-ounce can versus a shot, because the shot's a bit intimidating. But with a 12-ounce can, you're drinking it like you would drink any other, sort of alcoholic beverage, where you're pacing yourself, and if you want to slow down, you can slow down. And because the onset's within 15 to 20 minutes due to ingestion in liquid form, you feel it sooner. So you can kind of really dose yourself out and not feel like you're going to have to wait an hour and all of a sudden you're glued to the couch.
So you kind of get that baseline much sooner, and then you can effectively make a decision on how much more you would like to consume or at what pace you would like to consume.
Correct. I would say that the onset is faster than an edible if we're comparing the two. And then also the on-ramp. I feel that sometimes when I've had edibles, it hits you all of a sudden, everything at once. To where with this, as you're drinking it over 15, 20 minutes and enjoying the flavor and then getting the experience, there's more of a gentle kind of ease into the high compared to just that thump that you sometimes get with other deliverables.
So, gentlemen, I've got to ask, being in this space in the beverage space for so long, what are some similarities that you're finding between what you've been doing with the brewery versus now introducing Delta8 from, I guess, kind of a 360 view, right? Like, how are you engaging consumers? What does regulatory look like? Just what parts are extremely different, but what parts are like, yeah, we got this. This is our prior expertise coming in.
I mean, I would start with our expertise being in the beer and alcohol business, and we follow all the federal regulations, everything from labeling rules and such. So, we understand regulations. State to state sales are limited. You have to, register in all 50 states. So we've always been limited in our state access, though we have sold in multiple states. And so we've learned all the, sort of the regulations behind that. And of course, the rules have been changing with hemp and cannabis. So knowing that we want to merge those two worlds together, because in the craft beer business, we do have cannabis users and THC users that would want to also be having, in the same social dynamic as a craft beer party. So we wanted to merge those two worlds together. And I think we're able to do that a little bit more now based on the current regulations of how hemp is currently federally approved.
Yeah, and being cannabis users and wanting to bring cannabis more into the American beverage culture, this has been a really, really cool project for us to be working on. And then also bringing in the quality that is craft beer. It's something that we always pride ourselves on, and that we're going to continue on with this new project and everything else that we do within the hemp space. We feel it's very important. We're trying to do things the right way, the best way that we can, best ingredients, all those things that make a quality brand and a quality experience for the customer as well.
Amazing. And gentlemen, before we wrap up today, I'm really curious, what is the cannabis culture and I guess regulatory viewpoint right now in the U.S. Virgin Islands? How is that kind of functioning right now? What's that ecosystem look like?
Surprisingly, not legal yet for cannabis recreation or medicinal. But as a Caribbean island, as you know, cannabis has been present for generations and is part of the culture, and it is not recently not been, legally, it's been legally loosened on the laws there. So it's been okay, but there's definitely not the regulations in place to have open dispensary sales yet.
Enforcement is friendlier, but
Correct.
fines
Thank
are
you.
still in place.
Correct.
Awesome. Gentlemen, I'm so grateful that you took the time to meet with me today. And I'm curious, for all of those that are tuned in, what's the best way to stay connected and to follow you all?
The best way is through our website or social media. The website is drinkcoolout.com. And then our handles are drinkcoolout as well. So those are the best channels to follow up.
Amazing. Well, thank you both so much.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
And of course, we're so grateful to all of you that have tuned in to another episode of WeedBudz Radio. Be sure to head over to our website, weedbudzradio.com. We'll have links to connect with all these fine gentlemen and their website so you can check out their beverages. And can you ship, gentlemen? Can you ship to all 50 states or most states?
Most states, yeah. We've got on our website. You can go check it out at drinkcoolout.com and we can ship to you.
Awesome. Well, definitely go check drinkcoolout.com. Those links will be in the show notes, and we'll see you in the next episode. Thank you so much.